Have you ever wondered why all of us are built in a way where we need validation from others? There's something inside of us that if we don't feel that sense of acceptance from someone that we appreciate, love, or care about, there's just something that is unfulfilled. Well, I want you to understand why there's such a major problem that is happening all over the world right now, because there's been such a shift in how we think about ourselves and others. And if we don't really understand this, how it can actually have a catastrophic end to you actually being able to be, feel good about yourself, and no matter what you accomplish, to actually have a sense of peace, because we're living in a time and in a world where it's made peace very hard to arrive at. There's so many things that distract you from really just becoming, centered with respect to who you are, who you want to be, what you stand for, and what makes you happy and what doesn't. Well, I want to talk to you about what I like to call the curse of validation. There's a very, very key thing when we think about the need for validation. There's so many things that are all kind of hitting us. Now, in the age of social media, let me go to my whiteboard for a minute. There's so many things we hear about, like, how many likes did you get? Views, right? Comments. How many people shared, right? And so when we think about ourselves here in this new age world, right? We're being inundated with the measurement of how valid we are by the response of others. Now, this is whether you're on social media or not. This is just the mentality of the world, where there's so many people who are measuring their worth by how well people respond to things that they actually do, say, or wear, or entertain, or educate, whatever those things are. And so more than ever before, we're getting this deep, deep need, especially our youth, to be validated. It reminds me of a really touching, disheartening even, but a great thing we can learn from it. And I'll use a story and just call the person's name, let's call the person's name Fred, okay? And let's say Fred's been accomplishing a lot, and very, very accomplished athlete, and going out, being successful, hitting game-winning shots, getting a lot of accolades and trophies, but his dad never comes to his game. His dad, every time he goes to him and he wants that sense of validation from his dad, he doesn't get it. And now he's, moving into, his high school years. He still just feels like no matter what he accomplishes, no matter what he does, he just can't get that recognition from his father. And, whenever he brings a good report card home and he begins to, show his grades, the dad doesn't really acknowledge it. The dad still gets on him about the things he needs to do, like chores and things of that sort. But the dad just never really acknowledges what Fred is doing. And so Fred is really pushing himself to still push past that and be great and do things that, are worthy of acknowledgement. And he's thinking, if I just do a little bit more, if I accomplish a little bit more, that, my father would recognize me. So then, now he's in college and he's playing college sports and he's still getting straight A's. And then he still doesn't get that acknowledgement. And think about going through this whole experience and Fred actually, becoming a professional. And now he's a professional basketball player. Now he's got all these accolades, even won a championship, and all of the people in the world are acknowledging him. He's got his own shoe. He's got all kinds of people adoring and looking up at him. When he goes back home, he visits his dad, he still doesn't get the recognition of what he feels he has accomplished. And what's terrifying is there's been people in this exact same situation that then went and actually committed suicide, all because the validation they wanted the most, they never felt like they could get it. My point for telling you this and using this story is because I want you to understand that validation is a very, very deep, deep desire that we all have. Whether we admit it or not, we want someone somewhere to acknowledge that we matter, that we actually make a difference, that there's something special about us. And so this is a growing phenomenon in which several industries have been created around rewarding you based on the validation you get. Now, let me go back to my whiteboard here. So imagine having companies now that pay money based on levels of validation, right? So if you get the likes, views, comments, shares, then we will reward you, right? Then let's look at society and say that you're going to get attention, right? Which is its own form of currency that we want if you've been validated by other people, right? So what happens is we got companies paying money and society paying attention if we can do anything that makes people validate us through these things that are very, very superficial. So what is actually happening to our young people? What is actually happening to our adults? What is actually happening to everyone who is already built to desire someone to validate them, but now to have something that is pouring gas into a fire that is already in us by nature? What is it doing to all of us with this intense focus on us being made recognizable or valid by the recognition of people we don't even know? Now, we've seen this work in many ways when sometimes I'm getting unwanted attention, right? Where there's a lot of people who's trolling and doing a lot of stuff online that has hurt people's feelings. And you've seen people go do some horrific things because they felt like everyone was against them or everyone spread something about them or whatever. But even how hungry that we've become for information about other people, be it good or bad, and to get a sense of reward from the entertainment of someone's uprising or downfall. So this has literally become a curse, right? If you don't understand what's going on and you're not centered enough, you can start to lose yourself, especially our young people. My heart goes out to our youth, that you can become addicted to the need for someone to validate. So here's the thing. Let's go back here. And so when you think about, let's make another individual here. You think about this person, and let's create a little something here. And someone here has got their little outfit on here. And think about for a minute, when I think about, who I am and I think about, how I represent myself or what have you, right? The thing about it is there's this gaping hole that we can have, right? Where I'm asking myself, do I matter? Right? And am I special? And what is my worth? And lastly, how do they, whoever that is, really think of me? Right? So all of these questions are things that could be right at the center of who we are. And so we live a life in question about our worth, who we are, and we're looking for someone to come along and to validate, answer these questions for us. And the challenge is, depending on who we get around, this can either be used for good or evil. Because if someone wants something from me and they see that I am this much in need for these questions to be answered, someone can come along and all they have to do is tell me that I'm special. Because no one else has told me that. I'm going to stop and take notice of the person who's willing to tell me that. And if this person is bad, a bad influence, I will compromise who I am to continue to get this validation from this person who has told me the thing that I want to hear. Right? If someone comes along and tell me that I do matter, or I think great of you, or you're worth a lot to me, right? So, but by the same token, if I get the right person come along and do the same thing, this could be very rewarding because I'm being validated by someone good, and the behaviors in this good person is something that is actually going to help me advance as an individual, make me better. They might have some things in their life that I need. It's going to cause me to grow, cause me to actually have a chance to advance who I am, to become a better individual. So we have to realize that this gaping hole that's on the inside leaves us vulnerable to be very selective at who we allow to answer these questions that we all sometimes have. So this really makes you think deeply about a word. That word is, let's go back to the whiteboard here. That word is insecurity. Now, notice here, it's called insecurity. But it really seems like it should be called out security, right? Because insecurity, right, is actually expressing that I have a need for validation from others. Right? So you would think it was called out security because I need someone external from me to validate. And if I was insecure, I'd have something inside that was secure. But it means the opposite. Being insecure is really the need for validation from others, right? It's really saying that this is like I am not having enough inside to validate me. So because I'm insecure, there's not enough in me that is secure, I have to go outside and seek that validation from someone else. So the way that we overcome, right? So when we think about insecurity, do that a little better here. When we think about insecurity, we overcome this through empowerment. More specifically, self-empowerment. And this is the ability to generate power from the inside. Right? And this also means becoming my own source of validation. So what we want to do is we have to learn how to find the things inside that remind us that we have worth. So sometimes this means I have to actually think deeply about my good qualities, the things I have accomplished, the good decisions that I have made, right? And even if I don't feel I can find enough of those, the fact that I have the ability to do that. And this is one of the reasons we talk about being the CEO of your life, right? That you run the business of you, because it doesn't matter about yesterday. If as long as today I can still make a decision to be better, I can make a decision to add value to myself. So some of the ways that we empower ourselves, we add things inside of us that are of worth. So knowledge, skill sets, doing things for ourselves that make us better, with our health, with our mind, with the people that we're around. Anything that I take in that's of value makes me more valuable. So the willingness to learn things that actually help you grow increases your self-worth, your self-value. And when times get difficult, you can sometimes rely on that or rest on that because you know something's good in you because you put it in there. So the pathway to needing less validation is to put more value inside of us, right? So think about this. Going back to the whiteboard here, insecurity is about validation. Self-empowerment is about value, right? How can I create more value in my life that empowers me to know my own worth? So some of the reasons that there's so much need for validation and there's so many issues with insecurity is because there's so many individuals who know they have not put enough into themselves. So they question their own worth because they know they haven't done the work. They question their own worth because they know they haven't achieved the things that they say they want to achieve. They know they've not really, pushed themselves. They've quit on themselves. They've broken their own promises to themselves for so long that it causes them to feel like they're not worth anything. So what do we have to do? We have to make a decision to no longer do that, to start putting things in us that's of value. Learn something, right? Gain knowledge about something. Get around people who are going somewhere. Absorb. Put yourself in an environment that if you absorb the environment around you, it actually will cause you to grow and make you better. Get around people that are going where you want to go, that know something that you don't, and absorb that, right? Acquire that. Put the energy and effort in. Read books. Watch videos that make you better, make you stronger. And as you begin to put those things into practice in your life, you start to not only take in the knowledge, but you start to implement the things you're learning, the things you're hearing. You start actually pushing yourself to be better. Your value begins to go up. And as your value begins to go up, there's a power that begins to be created. And as that power is beginning to be created, you can go and find that power when you get these moments of feeling as if you are powerless, you are not worth anything, and you don't have what it takes because you don't have validation from someone else. So this is what we want to do, and this is what the steps we want to take, because if we don't, we'll all suffer the curse of validation. So I challenge you today, as the CEO of your life, to make sure you focus more on doing the things that generate value in your life, to create real, substantive, meaningful things on the inside, so that when those things internally start to throw different thoughts at you of whether or not you're worth it or not, you can say a resounding, confident, yes, I am worth a lot, because you know you've done a lot to put valuable things on the inside. I'm Michael E. Parker. Keep fighting to be the CEO of you.